Welcome to a new episode of It's Show Business. This week we have comedian Katie Boyle on the show. She's super funny. She's Irish. She lives in New York. She's got a great podcast. You're going to love this episode. We cover all types of topics. If you haven't already, please subscribe. YouTube's, Apple, Spotify. It helps. We're going up the charts. Thank you. And enjoy. Thanks for doing the It's Show Business podcast, Katie Boyle.
Thanks for having me.
I think we met in New York because we were already friends when I did your podcast that was on Zoom with Andrew Arolfo.
Yeah. Did we meet with Andrew's friend though at maybe like QED or something?
I don't know. Like in New York with Andrew?
Yeah. Oh, we met with because I've never been with Andrew in New York.
No, I think we were either on a New York Comedy Club show or something.
Oh.
We did some sort of show. Maybe that pizza one in Brooklyn. I don't know. Something that we were already introduced. And then Andrew texted me and said, hey, do you want to get on a podcast? And I said, when? He's like, right now. And I had no idea. It's a pretty risky thing to say yes, but I trusted Andrew that he wasn't going to throw me into a situation. But it could have been anything. It could have been like a career-ending podcast.
Yeah, no. That would be awful.
I know, right? And then, but it was super fun. And you and was it your co-host?
Yeah, Steven.
It was a really fun time, good group. And it was live to Twitch, which was my first live to Twitch podcast.
And did you like doing live to Twitch?
I mean, for me, it didn't really change anything, but
me neither.
It was interesting.
Steven gets all the comments, so I don't ever see anything as we go along. It's just as if we're just like friends chatting.
Yeah. Why do you do it to Twitch?
Because there's like 200 people that stream and watch it.
Yeah.
So, because it was originally like he wanted a comedy show, but we don't hear the Twitch people laughing. So we were like, we'll just do it like a podcast. So it's easier for the comedians than just to chit chat and not like worry about like waiting for a laugh. That's not going to happen.
Yeah, that is interesting. Because I've started a Zoom show, which has been super fun and surprisingly fun. Like, and you hear the laughs. There's a little bit of a weird delay, but like there is audience and some people have their cameras on and you can kind of do a little bit of crowd work.
Yeah.
But with Zoom, no, it's just commenting. I mean, sorry, with
Twitch.
Twitch, it's just typing. So it's
but it's like also a way to reach another audience, I guess.
Yeah, but it was huge. I mean, a couple hundred people for like a podcast is great watching.
Well, I think they just follow that guy, the Comedy Hub guy, and they just watch all of his shows. So
Okay.
he puts on comedy shows. Yeah, it wasn't for us specifically. They just happened.
Oh,
They just watch that channel every night.
That was my question. What is the Comedy Hub? I don't. Is it your thing? I guess it's someone else's thing.
No, it's just some guy who plays on Twitch, and he has like a load of followers, and he's just started hosting comedy shows or comedy stuff. So that's really it.
Oh, just like a generous like Samaritan who gives people.
Yeah, I think he just
is he a comedian?
No, I think he just likes running stuff. Maybe I don't really know. He could be like a murderer, and I'm like, whatever, 200 people.
Right, just collecting a list of subjects.
Yeah, I actually don't. The first time I met him was when we started it. Steven knows more. So,
okay.
But he like follows me on Instagram or whatever. But like he doesn't have a lot of Instagram followers for as many people who watch the Twitch. So
yeah,
but I guess it's like
universe.
a whole different.
Yeah,
They're like different people.
Yes, I've done a few video games on Twitch with some friends, and it's been fun. But I don't know if it's productive or beneficial. It's fun and interesting, and like you put your face on the video game and you're playing together and people watch, which is also strange, but it's fun, like, I guess.
But there's a whole like TikTok world of people putting up those recordings of their interactions while gaming, and some of those people have like millions and millions of followers.
Yeah, and they make bank and people are tipping, and I do like going on my friends' Twitch channels and talk and like chatting with them, and then they talk. It's like a weird interactive TV.
Yeah.
It's kind of like what they thought the internet was going to be when we heard about it. It's like, it's going to be like interactive TV. You can talk with the TV, and you're like, okay. And
I
now,
guess and so it is. I like the ones where the guys are playing the video games that are scary and seeing their reactions. There's like some British guy and he does like a lot of like, oh my God. And you're like, oh, it's so funny.
yeah, because it's a personality. It's like the game is whatever, but you're not gonna remember like what level he was on, but you're gonna remember like, yeah, like he's like the personality. He was
Yeah.
freaking out, or he's scared, or
Yeah. I don't even know the name of the game. I just was like, this is hilarious. Whatever TikToks there were.
yeah. And then, did you start comedy in Ireland or in New York?
In New York.
Nice.
So, yeah. Which is great. I feel lucky for starting over here. It's pretty intense, you know. That was like 5.5 years ago. But when I first started, you know, you could do a lot very quickly.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It's one of the best comedy towns. Like I used to live there. I miss it. And it's just so many great shows and it's just good comedy energy.
Yeah, yeah. No, absolutely. I feel lucky that I started here because I feel like some people who move who didn't have like a big name and then moved but were like kind of big in their town and then moved to New York, it's like a huge ego hit for them and they don't like it's like they're starting over again even though they're like starting knowing how to tell jokes, but
Yeah.
still I feel like I was lucky because I had no expectations. I was just like, oh, I'm just doing this thing.
Yeah. It can work both ways because you could have like a rep in your town and then people, when you come, they're like, oh yeah, this guy is already, and you can kind of get like some looks easier if you have a
I
rep.
mean, I feel like, yeah, I'm talking about people who are like not that big in their town, not like someone
Yeah,
who comes
yeah.
who's like been on Conan or whatever.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. If you're like a medium fish in a small pond, you're going to be a tiny fish.
Yeah, or even a big fish in a small pond, like you
Yeah,
know, like
yeah.
Nebraska.
Yeah.
Like that's a big pond, but if you're not been on TV and you're like killing it on all the road gigs over there, and you come to New York, it's like, and New York can be very like if they don't see you performing loads, it's more like what credits you have, and then like when they see you and you do well, they don't care as much about credits. But
That's true. Comedy is a lot about credits
yeah,
for a certain like,
not in Ireland.
no?
No one would ever. I've gone back a bunch and I've performed there a bunch, but no one would ever ask for your credit or they'd be embarrassed to be brought up with a credit. Like they're just like, oh my God, that's so humiliating.
Yeah.
Like don't tell them I was on TV. It'd nearly turn the audience on you as well because then if you bring up like, oh, this guy's been on like the BBC a billion times, and then the audience is like, well, fucking let's see you make me laugh then.
Yeah.
Go on then. You know, you think you're a big shot on the TV.
That's a very English, Irish, British way. Yeah.
Yeah, you got to go up and be like very humble, and then like, and they're like, oh yeah, they're funny, but
Yeah,
you
win
can't
them
be like,
over. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. But we're more of a name droppy culture in North America where it's like, tell us what you've done
Oh, yeah.
first. And then we'll be on board. We'll even like you more. We'll give you a pass on some.
yeah. Not to be like a dickhead here, but you could have someone who has like a TV credit where I'm like, I genuinely love all comedy and love everybody and not to bitch, but there would be that odd person who has a TV credit who's not a great live performer and will get a lot of shows because of the TV credit. And like I just think people like the TV credit on their poster.
Yeah, on the poster. And it's also like when you're running a show and you're inundated with people asking, you're like, all right, well, at least this person's been on Conan. We'll give them a chance.
And most people who have been on are fantastic performers, but then there's some people who are just like TV is still a little different than, you know, so there's like some writers maybe who did. Yes, this is like more rare what I'm saying, but there would be the odd person where you're like, Jesus. Okay.
Right. It's not, it's just one factor in the many factors of all these things you have to take into account. Do you run a show in New York?
Yeah, I have for over 5 years. I started running a show like a month in.
Oh, nice.
And it was surviving through the pandemic, but that comedy club is closed down now, so it's dead now.
Oh, where was it at?
QED.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was called Transplants.
Oh, now the comedy club is dead, so you got to find a new home for it?
No, I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm taking a break. Yeah, like I might run a show at the brewery that I'm working at, but like the Transplants show is like it lived 5.5 years, or it's fine. I don't need to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good run for a show.
Yeah, it's fine. If the comedy club comes back, I'll do it again. But no, I'm not. Like if I do another show somewhere else, it'll just be a different show. It'll just
Yeah.
Anyway,
Clean
there's like
slate.
no transplants anymore. Everybody left.
Right. Is it really that like barren now in New York?
Not really, but a lot of people did leave, and like for a lot of comedians, it makes sense to leave because they can just go and perform in their hometown with audiences and stuff.
Right.
Here there's outdoor shows. Like I'm doing an outdoor show today, but yeah, I guess I live in Astoria though, so it always is kind of barren out here. I don't really notice, but from what I hear on Twitter,
Yeah. There's
I'm
a
like
lot
on
of
the
comedians in
outskirts.
Astoria.
Yeah, there's lots of us. Yeah.
But that's the good thing about New York now is you guys have stuck to the outdoor shows. Like here in LA, we were really doing well with them for a while, and now it's just we have nothing. And I look longingly at the posts of people performing in their winter coats.
Yeah. No, it's fun. I nearly got like frostbite in my feet the other day, but like, the outdoor shows are fun. The one I did on New Year's Eve, it was just it's really cold, and like the audience are freezing, and you're freezing, and you're waiting for a while to go up, but it is still amazing, so I can't complain. But
Yeah,
like, it's cold.
super cold.
Oh Jesus!
I remember those days. I found that like when it was starting to get cold in LA, the show started getting a little bit worse because they
Yeah.
did, not that they're not enjoying it, but like they're just not in a
They can't
mood to
laugh.
laugh. Yeah,
No, they're just like you could see
you're
their
like that was good.
faces.
Yeah,
Yeah. No, it takes out too much heat energy for them to laugh too hard.
right.
But no, it's still amazing. In fairness, we're very lucky. Like I've got to perform for the whole pandemic, really, because of the park shows and everything. But they're doing a subway show now, which is a bit like,
Are these just like renegade people with like a
no,
amp?
this is Stand Up New York is doing a subway show.
What?
Yeah,
Inside a subway?
in the subway, in
Oh
the
my.
train, and like we all send the veils, and like they're paying people, which is amazing.
Yeah.
But when they said the subway show, I was like I never want to say no to anything because I feel like I'm like. I just like say yes out to everything, but
Yeah.
I just feel like, what if one of my many ex-boyfriends gets on a train and sees me performing comedy in my mask? Just like, Jesus, she really failed on the train.
Well,
But it isn't.
you're a subway
What?
performer now. Like,
I know I haven't done it, and I don't think I will, just because. I don't want to, but I think it is amazing that they're still giving people that opportunity. Like I'm definitely not shitting on it. I think whatever you can do, but I just think, over the years I had 2 shows in 2 different breweries where I would have to stand on a chair and shout over men who, I don't know, work with pipes for a living, some sort of weird construction guys. And they would just heckle me about like trying to get my phone number. And I did that for a whole year, 2 shows a week. And I'm like, I just can't do. I just jump out in front of a train. If I can't, it's not
well,
my mental health.
yeah, that's the benefit of doing the train show is that suicide is one sliding door away. You just jump
I
in.
know.
Like,
No, yeah. I think the pandemic taught me as well that it's like, because in New York you're doing like 7 shows a night, and maybe one of them is paid, and if it is paid, it's like not a lot of money. But like the pandemic was like, okay, we don't need to do a million shows a week. We can like also have a bit of a life and relax a bit. So like with the subway thing, I was like, I think I can say no on this and still do the outdoor shows.
right.
For my own mental health.
Yeah.
Don't need to say yes to everything anymore.
Yeah, I feel that, but also when it comes back, like I think everyone's going to jump right back to where they used to be. Like when the vaccine's here, they're going to be doing 3 shows a night. In like, I know we said this probably like a year ago, like or when this pandemic started, like, oh, in a year we'll just be back to normal. And maybe it's like 1 more year from now or 2 years from now. But at some point, everyone will just be back to normal.
Yeah, but even I guess I guess you're right. Well, I still back to normal. 3 shows is still better than people get mad at me on the subway when I'm not performing. So I still can't justify performing on the train. But I think the people that do it's so great. Fair play to them. They're going to get comedy awards at the end.
Yeah, I mean, this is now a chapter in every book or history about comedy that passes through these couple of years. Like it's the most insane thing, and people are going to have these documented things like comedy moved to the subway and to the park and to the We're onto Zoom, like,
Yeah, I'm saying this now, and next week you'll see me tagged in a post on the yellow line, and you'll be like, okay, she,
right. You're just like
she.
on the 6 train. Like, why the 6? The audience changes more often. You know, it's a local.
I can recycle my jokes.
Yeah. That's people are gonna start comparing which trains are good. Like, oh, you've done the J. The J is no good. It always breaks down. What about the L? L is great. But too many hipsters from Brooklyn.
Oh, you have to be PC on the L, yeah.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
What's it like when you go to Ireland to do shows? Is there a lot of comedy? Is it like comedy clubs? Is it bars?
The first time I went to do comedy there, I think I was 2 years doing comedy here. So, and there was a comedy club in Cork who put me up, and just because I had been in New York doing comedy, so they were great, and it was great. I just like, it was fine. It was it's like a different style of comedy because they're more storytelling, and I at the time was more jokes, and then I went back a couple of times afterwards, but I went back with a famous guy. He's famous over there. He met me over here, so he would let me open for him. So I kind of got to like skip a lot of steps. So like I went, like I never really did the open mic scene there, or like I never did an open mic there, or I was opening for him at the best theater in the country. So I was very lucky that I met him over here. So it was like an amazing experience, but I don't know if that would be everybody's. I was probably just lucky.
Yeah. And you have a hometown, maybe like one of our own.
Did we what?
Like it's at your hometown. It's like, I mean, home country. You're like, oh, it's like, you know Ireland. It's
Well, I don't understand.
like, don't you have a hometown advantage? Like you go back, you're like, oh, like I know the people. Like, you know.
Oh, the first time I was doing it, I didn't feel like that because I felt like really nervous because I felt like I'd learned my comedy style like American style. But now over the years it's different because I feel like I'm learning from both. But I didn't feel like I had a home advantage when I went back because I've always felt like a bit of an outsider, if that makes sense. Like I felt like I really fit in America, so I was really nervous about that going back. And then a lot of my jokes are about being in America, so I'd have to switch it to be like, oh, those guys over there. But since the longer I stay here, the more I feel like I am Irish, if that makes sense. This is going to sound really weird, but the more I go back, the more I'm like, oh, I feel like I'm happy to be home and stuff, but I don't feel like I have an advantage.
Oh, okay.
Like I already have an advantage in this country because even if a joke doesn't work, and it should work, I know I'm getting stage time and getting stuff because I'm funny, but I mean, also I do have an accent, so I stand out a little bit. So, and I don't think I'm getting shows because of a fucking accent. But I mean, when I first went home to Ireland, I was just like a little paranoid about that. I was like, I'm not going to I'm going to have to really like, not that that's, I never lean on that, if that makes sense. Even when I first was doing comedy here, I wouldn't talk about being Irish because I didn't want to be like seen as like the Irish person. Now I do it more because I'm like, whatever, that's who I am.
Yeah. So that makes sense. So the advantage is actually more in America because you're it's the more exotic, interesting.
They're more likely to, if I get on stage, I already can kind of command the room because of my accent, because people are like, oh, what's that? Like, obviously then I have to deliver and be funny.
Right.
I can't be just like, top of the morning. Like, I'm not going to be a fucking hack and be like, diddly eye or whatever.
Right.
But it is something that people will automatically listen to for a second because they're like, what the fuck is that noise?
Yeah, is it comedy? Is she selling financial services? What's going on?
Is this a nun? No, but then it was fine when I went back. That was just my little bit of a paranoia.
When you say they do more storytelling jokes, did you take like your material and kind of make it more storytelling, or you just had different stuff that was more story based that you gravitated towards when you were out there?
Well, when I was here, I was definitely doing stories, but they were jokes. If they were like reduced down to one-liners, but from like a story, like it was personal one-liners, if that makes sense. And then when I went out there and saw them, they could do like a story for 5 minutes before a punchline, but like a huge like laugh. Now that wouldn't really work over here. And that wasn't all of the comics, but I saw that a bit. And then so from that, I was like, I would like to do more stories, not just like maybe like 5-minute bits on the same story, or do more bits, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So they can go 5 minutes on so they're good storytellers.
The best,
they're like storytellers and comedians, because it's a slightly different skill to command a story with no jokes for 5 minutes.
Yeah, and this isn't everybody. It's just something I noticed. Some of them it
Yeah.
is like, but I think over here it's more jokey jokes.
Yeah.
Where over there it has to be more conversational. I guess that's a better way to explain it.
Right.
It can't be like, I don't know. It can't be like because here I feel like you're pushed to write like a lot of jokes really quickly for like late night TV. But they like jokes, I feel, but it has to be like chatty, like more hidden, like.
Yeah, they don't want like a very obvious act. Yeah, I have heard that, so that's interesting for you to confirm it. I do want to go to Ireland one day. We talked on your podcast that I am actually, I think, a quarter Irish. So my mom is Irish and Scottish, and her mom is from Kilkenny.
Kilkenny.
Yeah. So I've never been, but would love to.
Yeah, it's a great country.
One of the shows I did here in LA was sponsored by Tullamore Dew, so they were always pushing me to go to Ireland and talking about it, and so I'll make it happen one day.
Yes, you should. It's
Tack on
Tullamore.
some... What's that?
It's Tullamore Dew in my country.
What did I say?
No, you said Tullamore Dew, but you know, that's how you say do, but we say Jew.
Jew.
Like, yeah. It sounds bad, but that's what the name of the drink is.
Yeah. I love it. I mean, it's all these little things that I think it's good that like it's good for Americans that there's like a foreign country that speaks English, because it's like a little bit of like, all right, I can go. It's like a taste without being fully lost. Because, you know, I think Wanda Sykes has that great joke. It's like, how do you know if you're an American? It's like, well, I can only speak English and I don't know the metric system.
Okay, yeah.
And like, I'm Canadian, so I speak 2 languages, and it's like, you're just kind of like more close to different cultures, which is also, I think, why I love New York so much. I'm like, it's such a great mix of different people, and like,
same.
It's just, there's no other American city like New York. It feels like this weird experiment that somehow, I guess now is failing, but it'll be back. I have dreams of moving back every day.
Oh, good. And you're in LA, right?
Yeah.
I think New York is great. I think a lot of immigrants stick together, which is really nice.
Yeah, like a good community.
Yeah, it's like all the communities are separate, which is like one thing I noticed coming to America. Everybody kind of separates into their groups, but then I feel like immigrants will then also bond together. Like if I work in a restaurant, the immigrants are more likely to talk to me and include me. I'll more hang out with immigrants than I would necessarily the Americans, and it's just the way it happens. And I like American people, but there's just something with like immigrants who are like, we gave up our life to be here.
Yeah, there's a commonality. It's like a kinship, so to speak, because you changed your life to move to a different place. And you started a podcast called The Shift Podcast?
Yeah, 2 years ago. It was with the guy who would bring me home to perform with him, but it's not anymore. He is in a happy relationship, so he quit doing it. He was just like, I have nothing more to give. I'm happy. I was like, yeah, it's fine. I'm still sad.
Oh. Did you replace him with another guest host?
No, I just do it myself now.
Nice.
And then tried it. Because he's American, but he was famous in Ireland. He moved to Ireland when he was 14. And then he moved back here. And then obviously I'm from Ireland who moved here. So we talk about like sex and dating and relationships and the difference between America and Ireland, specifically, I guess, New York. And so in Ireland, there'd be a bit more shame, and like the country is getting really open now, but it wasn't like that for a long time. And then even dating cultures are different. So we talk about that, but now I just have different guests on, usually around those topics.
Yeah. What's one of the biggest differences dating in Ireland versus New York?
I feel like for a woman, dating.
Yeah.
Well, firstly, you guys have all these like exclusive, there's more casual dating and multiple dating. Ireland's like naturally a very monogamous country. So, and then the towns are very small. So Dublin is different. You could kind of get away with casual dating because you're less likely to bump into each other. But if you start dating someone in like one of the towns, everybody knows each other. So there's not even that worry of them dating other people. You don't need to have that conversation. And if you have a couple of dates, your boyfriend, girlfriend, you don't really need to have that conversation either. Maybe just for clarity. I would have always liked it for clarity, but it would have happened. It happened very early, like a few dates. And it could be even like they introduce you to your friends, like, oh, this is my girlfriend. But here it's like you could be dating someone for a year and they could have like multiple partners. You could have said, I love you. And then you find out I'm not your girlfriend. Like, it's fucking weird.
That is
it's
weird.
Very, thank you. They're very non-committal here because there's so much option.
Yeah. And it's also a shift in the culture over the last 10 years with like swiping people's faces. I mean, like, how does that not reprogram your brain to think options, you know?
Yeah, too many options. Yeah, people aren't easily satisfied and then you're not willing to work on things. It's very sad. So, yeah, I love love.
Oh, that's a great name for a podcast.
I love love. And I'm just talking about how love is failing.
Yeah, people want to hear that.
Yeah, well, that's what we talk about. Yeah, so that's mainly the difference. Also, you're like, sex education is better here.
Better.
So, oh yeah, in Ireland it's shit. And like when I say, again, maybe New York is just better, or you guys are just ahead of the time. In Ireland, there's no sex education, or there's like the odd sex education they like can bring in people to give you, but it's not to do with the government or anything. So it's just, but most people wouldn't have gotten a sex education. So like, I didn't know about masturbation, really, female masturbation. I knew it existed, but I didn't know how to do it, or no one had really talked about it until I moved to New York and my American girlfriends were talking about it. So,
but is that like an education just culturally, or is it education like it's not like from like, the state?
I guess that's not, sex education. Well, okay, that was just two different things. There's no sex education. There's no condom on bananas like what you get.
Yeah.
And then maybe the odd school gets that, but not we didn't. None of my friends got that. And then, I mean, also there's no comfortability with talking about sex in general.
Right.
So there's no like, this is where the clitoris is. There's a lot of shame around it. It's kind of like if we don't talk about it, it's not happening. And then everybody has HPV. A lot of women like died of the like cancerous HPV recently because no one was told about it. They brought the vaccines in like a little while ago, but for my generation, nobody was vaccinated. And because it's like a Catholic country, the kind of use of condoms has been like, people don't use them, but it's also in the culture not to use them, if that makes sense, because they weren't being used before. Even though we're not extremely Catholic, it's still in our culture more. The same way it's still in our culture to be more monogamous.
So like lingering effects, even though things are moving forward.
Yeah, and like shame with like sex stuff and like talking about sex and so but it's getting better. People are touching themselves, women.
There's just like a graph.
I think
How's
so.
Ireland doing? The touching is,
I think
is
so.
up.
I feel like it's slowly turning around. Like our podcast, and there's another podcast. We're like one of the first ones to be talking about sex so openly. There's another girls who came out at the same time, and they're killing it now. They're like making 10 grand a month off their Patreon. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah, but they just talk about like sex, like filth. But like people are like, yes.
Yeah. I think I know which one you're talking about.
Do you?
Yeah.
The two Irish girls.
Oh, it's another. Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh,
Another
I'm just
Irish.
talking about in Ireland. I'm talking.
Oh,
about
it's the Ireland one. Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's obviously like way more here in America. There's been going on for years. But I mean, in Ireland, this is the first couple. Because even like Des, when he did ours, he was like, "There's not really a sex podcast, a successful sex podcast right now." But then a week later, these girls started and they like blew up. And they were way more graphic than we were. We were like sex dating relationships. They were just like blowjobs.
I mean, it's great for the Patreon. Like people, yeah.
Or great for the people. People need to, it's fine. It's great. I think if sex was talked about, okay, you know the way in France you give your kid a drink at 14, and
at 14.
They let their kids drink at the table, usually around 13, 14. And it's just one drink. They like get to treat alcohol not as a forbidden fruit, and it's like something that tastes nice. And there's actually not like a culture of like binge drinking and young people going out and getting hammered. So I feel like if we treated sex like that, if you talk about sex openly, you're more likely to like have the knowledge and the tools. You're not going to be like, oh, you've told me about it, now I'm going to go bang my sister. Like that's what people's fear of. They're afraid if they talk about it that people will just go banging everybody. And it's like if you treat it less, like
less
give people
hidden,
the skills, and give them the skills like with STDs and and just make it more comfortable, then they're more likely to come to you if something happens. But also as well, because like I didn't know about STDs. I wouldn't have been fucking letting the penis inside me without a condom if I'd have known I'd now have to pay $250 a year to get my vagina scraped out. So
Yeah, I mean, that's an expense that you didn't forecast, and now your whole budget is blown. And
yeah,
I'm like how you brought it back to show business, which is, $250 for
sorry.
scraping is not part of the plan. Like, why would
As
you?
I was saying that, I was like, I wonder how he's going to react to me saying this. So I couldn't help myself.
No, please.
You were perfect. You were just like, yep. So.
First off, like, learn something new. Second off, tied it back to the subject matter. I think that's like pretty much what the audience
I'm sorry,
wants
I
to
went
hear.
off subject.
No, I mean, it was the most on-subject thing we've covered so far. Mostly we've been talking about Irish accents and New York and our own problems, which is fine.
Okay, good. What other showbiz questions do you have?
What's one of the things that you made an investment in your career that really paid off?
Oh, my laptop.
Laptop.
Yeah. I'd be quite tight with my money because I grew up really poor and not like really, really poor, but like my mother would spend all of our money all the time. And so there was always kind of that like, oh, we don't have money. So I'm like very tight with it. Like, and I'm like, okay, I need to be careful in case something happens. So I was like very much like, I don't want to spend 1,400 on a laptop. But then I was like, look, fuck it, just do it. And it's the best money I ever spent. It's like my baby. Sometimes I kiss it. I love it so much.
It's such like the laptop and the phone, like how much we use it for like business, life, like to be too far behind on those items, it can be problematic. Like I was trying to edit a podcast with a 2013 laptop. And at one point I just like cracked and went to the Apple store. I'm like, I can't do this. Like it doesn't work.
Yeah, it's well worth the money. And when you think about it, 1,500 is not that much, 1,400, whatever it is not that much for all. I use it every single day to edit, to podcast, to fucking write notes, to write email, whatever, watch Netflix.
Yeah.
It's so much joy.
So many different things. And it's a big part of your life. And there's an argument to be said of like continuously kind of staying moderately up to date so you don't fall too far behind in terms of like what your output and what you can do with it. So I like that. Yeah, you gotta buy the tools you need.
Yeah.
What's one thing you invested in that's like just didn't really work out? You're like, I'm gonna try doing this thing, and it just didn't pan out.
Running shoes. Sorry, I have nothing for my.
Oh, it doesn't need to be a physical object. It could be like, oh, I started a show here. I did this thing. Like I tried to do this one thing that like, and it just didn't. It wasn't for me.
Okay, but it doesn't have to. Oh, with money, but cost money.
It can be time. It doesn't necessarily have to be like dollars. It could be like.
Yeah. Okay.
I made a move that wasn't for me.
Oh, I don't know why I'm finding this question so hard because I kind of like annoyingly positive, and I think I always think of mistakes even as learning something. So I can't really. We did a hostel show for a really long time, but even that, I still feel like it was a nightmare, but I still feel like I learned loads. So I'm trying to think, even show, because I've done road shows where it's actually cost me more than what I've been paid to get there.
We've all done that.
Loads of those.
Yeah.
But I still feel like we benefit from doing them. Maybe not to cry on the bus on the way home, but but you learn a lot. So
you're just crying. You're like, this is a podcast. Click.
Yeah, no, you're crying because you're like, what is this life? I remember doing one and it was in Pelham, and like obviously I'm a woman, and they were a whole white over 70-ish audience, and the guy who had kind of gone up before was like, or the guy they were used to having was like very hack and would do like racist jokes and stuff. So that's kind of what they wanted, which obviously isn't fucking me. And then, I would touch on sex a bit as well. So they were not fucking having it. They like hated me, and I got paid and everything. But like just on the way home, I was just like, and I haven't had a proper serious relationship since I did comedy, because it's just like so intensive. But I was just like, what is this life? Like, I'm not going to have kids. I don't have a partner, and I couldn't kill tonight because they want something that I could never fucking do. And then I watched this guy do all this like racist, sexist bullshit. He did a joke where he made boob noise like bungity bungity bung, and they fucking died. And I was like, what is this life I've chosen to do? But then it was fine. I got over it the next day.
Bungity bung.
Yeah, I only did like a Mexican accent as well. I was like, I can't even believe. I had to sit there through the whole thing because I had to wait to get paid.
Yeah.
So,
well, that's a good
yeah.
way to look at it, to be saying, like, you know, I tried these things that even when it doesn't work out, or I lose a little bit of money, or I, you know, I have to follow different performers who haven't really adjusted from World War II. It's like, you know, you take something away from it, and you're like, you find out, well, I don't want to be like that person. And also, you know, you figure out like, all right, a little push to get something out of it, which I think is, you know, a great way to look at all these shows, because there's going to be bad shows. There's going to be more bad shows. There's going to be things that don't always work out.
No, I completely agree. I think even like when you have a bad set, now if you're having a bad set every fucking set, you're probably in the wrong.
Right.
I don't like the delusion either that you can like. But I think if you have like the odd bad set and just being like, okay, I wasn't in the mindset there, or that new joke isn't working, but I'll figure it out next time, and like leave it there. So that's kind of the way I am with everything, because I just fucking jump off the roof. So
yeah, it is strange when you see people just bomb over and over.
Yeah, you're like,
you know,
but then
you hear these stories. Like did you watch that Comedy Store documentary?
No.
It's really good. It's on Showtime. It's like 6 parts or something. And they're like, yeah, Jim Carrey bombed for like 3 years or something. And you're like, wow, like that's crazy.
Yeah, I have seen like some comics when I started out that were like bombing a lot, and then they got better, but they were like, it might have been something like they were too blue at the start, or they were doing like just one-liners, and just all the one-liners they were right and just didn't work, and then they started working and then they were killing it, and then, or that they were like really dark, and then that dark material just took a really long time to make actual punchlines. So I do think but if you're doing like 10 years and you're still fucking bombing, like, you know, you see that old angry guy in the back of the fucking open mic or something, and he's like, who's this new bitch with the accent? And you're like, you're 70, get a fucking life. So
yeah,
that was specific to my situation.
Okay. Do you want to name a Twitter or something? We should put them on.
No. This person has quit since. But I think you know, there's always like when people start out, there's usually some like sad, bitter person in the back who's just been doing it forever, and it just hasn't worked for them. You know.
How do you know they've quit?
Oh, this person quit. This specific person I was thinking of, they quit.
Yeah, like the ultimate exit off a building, or like just quit comedy.
I think they just quit comedy, but like also maybe they're still at the open mics. I haven't done open mics in years, so never mind. Maybe they didn't quit and they're out at some tree open mic now, being like, "Who's this new bitch?" Is some new girl is doing it.
Yeah. Why don't we turn this into an investigative series where you go and follow up and report back?
No.
I know this is a weird year to think about this, but like, what are some of your goals for 2021? Now that we're in 2021 and you're the first podcast of 2021.
Oh, wow. So comedy goals are I was thinking about this last night a lot. So it's not really stand-up goals, like obviously keep writing and all of that shite. But I would like to finish, like I've made a pilot, so I'd like to kind of finish that and try to keep pushing like social media and try to monopolize more, which I think the pandemic was really good for me because you know, we all lost paid gigs and we lost our jobs and all of that stuff, but it pushed me to try and monopolize like Instagram and TikTok and Zoom shows and all of that. So I kind of want to go into this year with more of a business head as well, because I fucking can't keep working like a million day jobs and then like only doing one big paid gig a month and then doing all these like a million unpaid gigs. So kind of like just treating it more like a business, I guess, is my goal.
Yeah, that's smart.
Yeah. I've been doing more advertisings on podcasts and stuff like that. My stepmom was laughing at me. She was like, "You're a sellout," because I did some like fucking ad that I didn't even know. And I was like, I don't care. I'll do whatever. I'm doing an advertisement for menopause pills in like a month. And I'm obviously, hopefully very far from menopause, but I'm like, I don't give a shit. I need the money.
Well, how is that selling out more than being like, what do you want fries with that? Like,
Yeah, exactly. And she was just joking, but it is like funny that I'm just like, well, I'll do whatever you could. Or we're very pro pubes on the podcast. We've always been like, cause
pro pubes.
Yeah, because Des had this big issue with the eradication of pubic hair, and my gynecologist is on the war path to stop women from removing their pubes because there's been a huge increase in STDs since it, and it's also UTIs and bacteria infections, all of that the pubes are there for a reason. And so we've always been pro pubes, but then Manscaped reached out to me and they were like, will you do an advertisement? And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, you know, I need the money. So, you know, and like I was just in the advertisement I did, I was like whatever makes you feel comfortable, but if you decide you do want to do this, use Manscaped.
That's great. And also it's Manscaped is less pubes, not no pubes. It's just
exactly.
So that's winning the war for pro pubes.
Yeah, and that's what my gynecologist was like. She's like, it doesn't need to be like bush, just a little bit, you know. So we took on that war, and then, but I'm also I guess it'd be different if it was like some like cream that like removes all your pubes. I'd be like, okay, I can't really advertise that because that'd be very against a lot of the episodes.
Against what you stand for.
Yeah. I could be like, I don't agree with this and I won't be buying it.
Yeah.
But, actually, they sent me the Manscaped. I haven't used it, but I have it here.
Oh, nice.
Even though I'm a woman.
Look, you're already doing another ad for them.
I know. No, look, it's so pretty. I was like, I will eventually use it because, like, look at this. Man stuff is so much better than woman stuff.
So I hear.
Oh, and they sent ball deodorant, you know, in case my balls get sweaty.
Oh, yeah. Sometimes they do.
Do they? I don't know. So anyway, I get presents for, you know.
That's great. I mean, I think I'm calling something like pro pubes is hilarious. Like you have to do something. I don't know if that's already the name of your pilot, but maybe an episode once you get your series greenlit. The pro
pubes.
Because in Sex and the City, they have an anti-pubes episode, which is probably
do they?
I mean, it's not. They don't call it that, but they have like a big Brazilian episode.
Oh, and she tries to grow back her bush and it's itchy for a while.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, I remember Samantha, yeah.
But that was like I'm sure that pushed the anti-pubes thing.
Maybe, yeah. I also think it's women on women as well. I think guys really don't give a fuck. Like, I think maybe a very unique guy who's like, is more specific about it. But I think for the most part, they're like, oh, whatever. And I'm just happy to be here.
Yeah, that's usually the
just thank
our
you.
default
Thank you for
state
letting me inside.
is thank you for having me. Yeah, that's our you know, that's how we live. Thank you. We're here.
Yeah, I could have been at home playing Twitch. So like whatever, I don't care. We're just happy to be here.
Why do you think it's women against women?
I mean, not against, but I think it's more I've never heard a guy say to me he has a problem with pubes, but I've heard women be like, oh, like, just don't you think it's a bit dirty or a bit gross? Way more. And when I talk to my other girlfriends, they say that it's women who told them to shave it off. There's no man. So I think I always think that it's kind of like we put our own pressures on ourselves on how to look and how to be, when men are like, I don't give a fuck if you have a small arse or fat arse or small boobs or big boobs. I think it's like, if you really ask each guy, he'd be like, yeah, whatever, it both looks great. And I think a woman sets the trend, you know, skinny eyebrows, fat eyebrows.
Yeah, we don't care about your eyebrows. Like we
literally don't give a fuck. Like, I'll be dating guys and I'll color on my eyebrows and they'll be like, it doesn't look any different. And I'm like, yeah, well, it makes me feel comfortable. But yeah, I do think that we put that pressures on ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of outfits too are for other women.
Yeah. Again, literally every guy I've dated, when I've dressed up nice, I've been like, well, and they're like, oh right, yeah, you look lovely, yeah, grand. Like, literally having a clue that I wore a dress.
You just open the door. Well, What?
I give it a minute, but they never compliment me. And then they're like, "Oh, all right, yeah, sorry, you look lovely, yeah,
You should.
Jesus."
I think you should just open with well. Well should be
Well, and
your date opener.
I'll be wearing like a trash bag or something.
Well,
Or, things like you could change your split in your hair and all the girls would notice and be texting you and be like, "That's great." And I was seeing this guy and I broke it off with him and then we rendezvoused and I had changed my middle split and we were like chatting for a while and I was like, well, my hair is different. And he was like, "Oh yeah." I was like, but women would all notice that. They were like texting me on my Instagram story, So
yeah. It's. Do men do anything for other men?
but it's starting. Men are getting more into like they're more stylish now, I feel like. I definitely feel like men are starting to, like they're manscaping.
Yeah, they're grooming more. They're. I think as society's like a bit more camera centric, I think people are getting more like, I guess, self-conscious-y or trying to make themselves look. We're all being filmed 24/7, whether we're doing it ourselves or someone or on the subway cameras or, spontaneously in other people's photos because we're all paying attention. But I don't know if there's as much like men doing something for other men.
Sneakers.
For other men?
I think for other people, men show their personality in their sneakers. Yeah. I even feel like I wear a lot of Nikes and like men will always be like, "Oh my God, is that the blah, 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 blah." And I'm like, I just thought it was lovely in the store, bought it. Because even Andrew, I was wearing the United Nikes and he was like, "Oh, I didn't know you had like that type of style. Like, I didn't know you were into like sneakers." And I was like, I just walked by the store, thought they were pretty and I bought them.
Right.
It wasn't like, I didn't know that this was a special brand.
Right.
But yeah.
They're in the sale bin. I just grabbed them.
No, they definitely weren't. They were fucking expensive.
What are they? Like, United Nikes?
Yeah, they're like 170.
Oh my God.
That's the only thing I spend my money on is sneakers but that's why I love America because in Ireland on a night out the girls dress up and they wear heels and stuff like that, and in New York you can just like wear really nice sneakers and then they last you the whole year, and that's seen as stylish with like skinny jeans. I hate wearing heels. I want to be able to go from a show to a night out, so I love that. Like cash is cool here.
Yeah, it's a very I mean, and the pandemic's made the culture and the style even more casual. Like we're all just like, I'm trying to get away from wearing hoodies, but I'm like, what am I going to switch to? Like dress shirts?
Hoodies are great.
Dress shirts? Cool. Like, I mean.
No, it's weird. That's pretentious.
It is weird, especially like now when we're basically, I want to be able to go from like the couch to a show to the couch.
Yeah. Yeah, I love when you're just doing Zoom shows and you like never change your like pajama bottoms or whatever because nobody sees. So it's great.
Yeah, I think there's an argument to be made to do it even if people don't see it.
To change your pajama bottoms.
Yeah, to be dressed from the bottom down even if you're not.
No, I won't. If I'm not leaving the house, I'm not. I'm just wearing shorts. Like, but I wear like football shorts to bed, like Irish football shorts. But if there's nobody seeing, I'm not. Why would I? I'm not. I hate doing laundry. I don't want to dirty extra clothes. I want to go for as long as possible without dirtying my clothes.
But don't you feel different? Like,
no, I still shower.
But it's like Steve Jobs when they made the inside of the computer beautiful too, even though no one would see it.
No. No, I feel more comfortable.
You're like, it's not practical. It's 2 extra Tide Pods a week. It's blowing up my budget.
And my jeans are tight. My jeans make me look good. They're like comfortable enough, but they're tight. So no, I want to be in my shorts, or if I had sweatpants, which I don't, I have yoga pants. I wear them.
What about the pants that all the women are wearing now? It's like they go up higher than the belly button, but they're just big, baggy, straight lines. And
I don't know.
And they wear them with the big, fat, white shoes.
Oh, I don't know those.
You don't know that? That's like every... No.
It's like sweatpants?
No, they're like any type of jeans, pants. All the pants are like big and baggy and like...
Oh, I have those. Yeah, I have those.
Yeah, you can wear those.
No, but they're still not comfortable. You have to wear a belt. It's not the same.
It's not the same as shorts.
Plus, I've got thick ties. I've got Irish thick ties with skinny waists. So a lot of the pants here, no. I need to be in my shorts. I need to feel free.
That's a new app, Thick Ties.
Tick ties. Yeah.
Well, this has been great. I really enjoyed having you on the podcast. I got to know you a little bit better.
Me
I
too.
learned a lot about a lot of different topics. Where do people find you? Tell us your socials, your Instagrams, all that.
At Katie Boyle Comic. And please follow me on everything. Message me. Unless it's one of those like religious messages. I don't want one of those.
Don't do one of those. Oh, I did have one more question. Now I remember. The when you said like during the pandemic you were transitioning from like or doing more investment on your online stuff and in your Instagram. What are some of the things you did that you really noticed accelerated that growth for you?
Posting every single day, even if
Ah,
you lose followers from it, because sometimes people get annoyed. They don't want to hear from you for every day, but you actually gain more.
the net
For
gain
post,
is higher.
yeah,
Ah,
yeah, the consistent posting, and then like what is better for each site. So I feel like, like for Instagram, for me, putting my tweets, so I post a bunch of tweets and then what everyone does best. So just like any thought I have, I probably post 3 or 4 tweets a day because I don't care about my Twitter, and I just post, and then what everyone does the best, I screenshot, put it on Instagram, and submit it sometimes to meme pages. So sometimes that gets picked up. So I feel like that helped a lot. And then utilizing everything like Reels. I use Reels and
yeah, Reels is big.
TikTok and
Yeah,
just posting every fucking day. But it's like a full-time job.
it is. Yeah, to dedicate yourself to do a post every day, it's work.
Yeah, yeah, and I do it on all of the apps. So
Yeah, I like that because a lot of people do get self-conscious when they lose followers after a post.
yeah, yeah, I like try to be like, oh, I don't give a fuck because what am I gonna just not post now? And like the people who are following you for your jokes are gonna like that. But I do know that recently I posted, I haven't in 2 years. I posted a like bikini pic, and the last one I was like with a group of girls. So anybody, and my most of my following, like my following doubled in the pandemic with Instagram. So I'd
Oh
say a lot
wow.
of them, yeah, I think I was on like 5,000 and now I'm on 10,000. And a lot of them would have come from meme accounts, or my podcast, or I did like sex educational videos on Reels. So it could be any combination of them. But I was never thirst trapping. And then rarely post a picture of myself, like the odd. And even if I post a picture of my face, it like bombs compared to my tweets. I'm like, why do you hate my face? But, but so I was sitting on this bikini pic that I was away for Christmas and we had a hot tub, and one of the girls was like, oh, you look so good, you should post a picture, like your body's so nice. And I was like, I don't know, I just feel like my followers would hate that because I feel like they follow me because I don't do that. And then after 3 days, I was like, I'm just going to do it and see. And then within posting it, I lost 60 followers. And I noticed because it nearly dropped me lower than the 10K. And then I lost more, but then I posted a post about how like I made a joke about how like I'm only skinny because I have IBS, and then I gained way more followers. But so it balanced out in the end. Like I do think you can win them back, but it just showed that they were like, oh, this bitch trying to think she's
Yeah.
hot, like fuck her.
But there's
Um,
like it's like running a show. It's like there's an audience, and the
mhm.
audience for you and your comedy and your show can't has to continually grow to stay the same. You know,
Yeah.
like for you to stay at 10K, you got to be constantly losing and gaining followers, or
Yeah.
maybe just doing nothing and no one magically unfollows you. But what's the point in that?
Oh yeah, yeah. So I think you just got to keep going. Like I
Yeah,
lose followers. I lose followers every day anyway. But that was the biggest lump in a post where it was
yeah,
like,
yeah,
okay, instantly 60. Like I could see the numbers drop on the inside. But I knew. So it was like a social experiment, and that's fine as well because like I'm sure there's people who follow me who because it could be any specific reason, like, oh, Irish Catholic, and then they were probably like, oh, she's getting a bit slutty. And like, I want, I don't want to be boxed in. I want to be able to be like, hey, looking sexy.
yeah. You got to be yourself, and the more you are
Yeah.
yourself, the more you have fans, and the more it pays off. So
Yeah. And
yeah,
it's like, it's okay to be like, oh, to like, to thirst trap. That's not, I don't think any women are thirst trapping, but I think it's okay to be like, yeah, I'm looking nice. I want to put this on my page. Or, this is a joke. I want to put this on my page. Or this is a
yeah.
video. It's like, you don't need to. Yeah, but I just never do that. So I think they were like meltdown.
You should put a little audio clip with it. Oh yeah, I look nice. Look at this.
Yeah, because it's also like most people post on Instagram, when they post those photos, I feel like it's because they're like, oh, I finally like most of them, the backstory is maybe like they never felt pretty, or they don't usually, or they were ugly as a kid, or even if they weren't. But I do feel like most of the time when people get to that point where they're posting like a kind of hot photo, it's because they're like, yeah, finally.
Yeah.
All this shitting from IBS has paid off.
Right. There's an ad.
Yeah, but that, and it could be Irish. It could have been Irish followers as well, because sometimes they're like, too big for your boots. Bye.
Like, click, delete. Yeah.
Or it could have been just people. It was around Christmas. It could have been robots. You never know. But I think you have to just post every day and not worry about people unfollowing, because you'll gain it back. But
do you have a lot of followers in Ireland?
20% of my followers are based in Ireland, and 80% are based in, 70% are based in America, and then Australia. For whatever, the podcast has like 1,000 listeners in Australia. So.
Oh, that's big. And then do you time him some posts for your Irish audience? No, you just post whenever?
No. I generally post once I eat, which seems to be around 3 p.m.
Okay.
And that just happens that's closer to Irish time and closer to American time. But sometimes I'll post at 10 p.m. and you'll get the Irish in the morning. So I don't really worry about it too much. I worry more about time with TikTok because the algorithm's different. So.
All right. Well, Katie Boyle, thank you so much for doing the podcast. I really appreciate
you. So much.
And hope to see you soon.
I hope to see you soon.
Take care. Bye.
Okay, bye.